Bunner, you come. He's spent a good amount of time in Peru, had wonderful opportunities to serve the Lord. He's going to relate some of that as you prayed with him and help support him. I trust you'll be encouraged by all that the Lord did through him. Lord bless you, brother. It's good to have you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Well, as most of you know, I was able to spend about 2.5 months in Peru with missionaries David and Candy Stillwell, and it was most of you probably are familiar with the Stillwells. They were here about 2 years ago for a missions conference, and the Lord just opened the doors for me to go there. I'll just have some pictures to go with. Here's just some. I went to Trujillo, Peru. It's a city along the coast in Peru. And there were several purposes of an internship that I did down there. One was to see everyday missions, just from the mission field perspective. Being there for 2.5 months, I saw a lot that happened on the mission field, and it was just, that was one of the purposes. Another purpose was to develop and learn more about the language, which is Spanish, down there. I believe the Lord has called me into missions, specifically to South America or Central America, and I've been trying to learn Spanish for the last few years, and this was an opportunity for me to be fully immersed in the language, and everyone down there speaks Spanish, so that was a purpose. Another purpose was to experience ministry in a different culture, very different culture in many ways down there, and then also just to experience the ministry of missions in general. So just here are some of the sites down there, but also these are the Stillwells. My mom and fiance were also able to visit at the end of my time there, and they were able to see some of the mission field as well. Here's the church that I was at pretty much the whole time. Pretty small church, the size of the auditorium. Some of you have been there before, actually, here. But the size of the auditorium is probably not much bigger than one of the sections here of rows of seats, but they would pack a lot of people in there sometimes 100. I think at one service they had about 140 people packed in that auditorium. And I don't take very good pictures, I'm sorry, but there's one of them packing in, and down there they do not mind packing close together. But that was the church. Here's a youth conference I was able to attend right at the beginning. They packed about 200 people. This was not at the church, it was at the Bible college down there. But that was amazing to see all the churches in Trujillo and even outside of the Trujillo send young people and even reach out to young people in the community. A lot of people are there that were not saved, and the Lord did a great work there. There's another picture of it. Some people I was able to meet along the way and hear testimonies. I was able to meet a lot of people. I met over probably about a dozen pastors, Peruvian pastors there, and a couple missionary families. This is a college student. His name is Cesar. He actually goes to college here in the States, so he knows English. He was helping me when I couldn't think of what to say or remember what to say in Spanish. He was my translator a lot down there when I needed it. This is Israel. He is from Venezuela, actually, and he left Venezuela about 4 or 5 years ago when things started getting really bad there. He came to Trujillo, Peru, and he was selling donuts on the street to make a living. And he found the church. He started growing in the Lord. His life turned around, and he is in the Bible college there now. And then this is a teenager from the church, and he has a strong testimony of being devoted to the Lord. He wants to be a missionary to the jungles there in Peru someday, and it was just a blessing to know him. Some of the culture down there, some interesting foods I was able to try, and other things. And one thing that I needed to learn down there was culture. Everything's a little bit different, and everything's packed close together, but as you see, the Lord used that in many ways in their culture, because oftentimes you have to have a church in every community, and you know what? A lot of people have to walk to church. So churches are started in many communities. There's probably about 20 or 30 churches in that town of Peru, started by different missionaries and even Bible college students, and they are able to do a lot of that. This is a Bible college there that I was able to spend a lot of time at, meet different professors, and talk with them and learn how they train their students there. And this is a camp I was able to attend about the last week I was there. So we were at camp for about a week, and it was an amazing time because many people were there that even weren't saved, and there were several salvation decisions, I believe, that week. And I was able to help in a lot of different ministries and also just to see them. Helped in ministries such as children's ministries. This is one of the children's ministries they have there. Teen ministries, the Bible college. I went to a lot of deacons meetings, pastors meetings, Sunday schools, the camp I was telling you about, and just a lot of different cultural events as well. And, several things I learned. One thing I learned is that culture is very different, and people think very differently in Peru, but they still just have the same need as everybody here in Martinsville, and that is the need for Jesus, that is the need for salvation. And just very Catholic influence there, and many people, just as you meet along the way, I met a lot of people on the way, and you would talk to them, and you talk to them about God, and they associate Christianity with Catholicism, and it's very sad. Everybody has a knowledge of God, but it's a wrong knowledge, and I was able to talk to several people there, but definitely a need, but also very encouraging to see the people whose lives were changed there in Peru. I also learned different things, like how the Stillwells taught me several things about turning cultural habits into tools for evangelism. Just things that people do every day, they turn them into evangelism. The people down there, they love to gather. That's one thing they do. They always gather for parties, events, any excuse they can get. They're gathering, spending time. And you know what? They turn that into good things. The church is always having events. There's always birthday parties. But, I found that I think pretty much every party I went to, every birthday party, every gathering, had a devotional, songs, and a time of prayer. And this trip was very helpful for me in that sense of seeing how missions is not about us, it's not about people, it's about reaching people for the Lord. It's about developing contacts and starting churches and seeing Jesus work in people's lives. And I would just like to say thank you to everybody who was able to give financially to help me get there, to make it possible. Thank you for everybody who prayed. I know a lot of people were praying, and I could feel the prayers at certain times. And I also like to give a special thanks to Mrs. Alexander, who spent 3 years trying to teach me Spanish and preparing me for this trip. And I could not have done everything I did without her help. And so just one verse that the Lord kept in my mind down there, Psalm 37:4, delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. And the desire of my heart is to be used of the Lord, to win people to Christ, wherever that may be. And I believe as I find my satisfaction in Christ that he can do that through me. So thank you.